Recently, I've been playing a lot of secret role games with my family, and that's the game where you're all working together towards a goal, but one of you is actually evil. And I've been playing so many with different friends and family, I was like, hey, I should do searching which one's the best and just do a rapid review of a bunch. But an intrinsic part of these games is lying and or deceiving, and is that wrong? Should a Catholic ever play these games? If I answer that, maybe I won't have to make the rest of the video. Hello and welcome to Intermerifica, New Mexico, the channel where we look at things of wonder from the perspectives of faith and reason, philosophy and theology. I'm your host, Daniel Kelly, and today we're looking at secret role games, the games where you're all working together towards a goal, but one of you or more is secretly trying to work towards a different goal, and especially whether it's okay for Catholics to lie at all or to deceive in games like this. And one of the reasons I wanted to look at this is secret role games seem to be gaining in popularity. A lot of times when we have my bigger, more extended family gatherings and stuff, they bring secret role games to play. That makes sense because a lot of them have more players, so that's really good. So I think there's one of the reasons I want to talk about lying is there seems to be two extremes in popular Catholic thought these days. One of the extremes is the people that any kind of deception sins, right? If we're deceiving, we're sinning. Any kind of telling of falsehoods. So even in the most extreme examples, like if you're hiding the Jews from the Nazis, and they ask, hey, do you have any Jews there? That would be wrong to lie in that circumstance. And there's a lot of people that think that, especially Dominicans, and it seems to me more traditionalist people, but it just seems to be a strong strand in Catholic thought these days. On the other hand, I think we live in a lying culture where we just justify lies all the time. Anything's okay. White lies are okay. Deceiving people to make them feel good, deceiving people for the greater good. And I've seen this even in Catholics who will defend, like, the movie Silence, which is a horrible movie. I'll talk about that in a different time. Maybe I'll make a video about it for Lenten penance, because I hate that movie. But all I can say about that movie without making a whole video is remember 2 Timothy 1:8. Don't be ashamed of proclaiming the gospel. So if a game were to encourage us to just have this attitude towards lying where it's okay, any kind of deception's okay as long as it serves the greater good, or I'm not really hurting anyone or anything like that, then you shouldn't do it. Anything that encourages that attitude, shouldn't do it. One of the things I think is super important in looking at this is we can never ever do evil that good may come of it. That's one of the bedrock principles of moral theology. In the Catechism of the Catholic Church, section 1753, when it's talking about this bedrock principle, it specifically brings up lying. You can't lie to bring about a greater good. Now that's really important to keep in mind when we're talking about lying. Just like not all killing is murder, right? If I kill someone in self-defense, that's not murder. Murder is the deliberate killing of an innocent human being. So not all deception, maybe not all deception is lying. So I just want to walk through what the Catechism says. The Catechism defines lying in two places. In section 2482, it says, a lie consists of speaking a falsehood with intention of deceiving. And that's a quote from St. Augustine. And if that's it, if that's the end of the story, then it's very obvious. If you speak a falsehood with the intention of deceiving someone, then that's a sin, right? So that would include tricking someone in a game. That would include telling the Nazis, hey, there's no Jews here, because you're intending to deceive them and you're speaking a falsehood, right? And so a lot of people do just end there. They don't read the other parts of the Catechism. They just stop right there. And I've seen this for two extremes. One, really conservative people that's the way it is and that's what we gotta do. Or surprising to me is I was just speaking with this deacon recently, really intelligent fellow, but he was all like, yeah, well, the Catechism's obviously wrong because our intuition says, no, you should be able to lie to Nazis to protect Jews. Our intuition is there are circumstances we can deceive, and the Catechism so clearly teaches this, so the Catechism must be wrong. I'm like, whoa. To me, to be convinced, the Catechism's not infallible, so it could be wrong, and our intuitions are not infallible, especially when there's a cultural bias. But both of those, I think, are moral intuitions, and what the Catechism says, it's a really, really high bar to say that they're wrong on something. And if there's a way to harmonize both our intuition and what the church is teaching through the catechism, I think we should go for that instead of just saying, oh, no, this way or that way, and the other one's completely wrong. Because to prove your moral intuitions are wrong, I think that's a high bar of proof, and to prove that the catechism is wrong, and to just do it without thinking that, oh, it's obviously wrong. It's just wrong because it goes against my intuitions. Wow, that surprised me. So I think if we can harmonize both our intuition, our moral intuition, that, yeah, you could deceive in these situations, and the teaching, what the Catechism teaches, that'd be the best. And I think if we go on, we can do that. So in section 2483, which it gives a more nuanced definition of a lie, it says, to lie is to speak or act against the truth in order to lead someone into error. So there's two parts to a lie, right? We have to be speaking or acting, right? That first definition didn't say acting, but we can deceive someone in our actions too without speaking. And so that's the bad thing, but we have to have it has to be in order to lead someone into error. That has to be the purpose of it, right? So, for example, if I'm telling the Nazis, hey, yeah, no Jews, the order of that is not to lead the Nazis into error, it's to protect the Jews. But even more, I would say, well, what does it mean to be in error? It means to not be in accord with reality, right? We're in error if we're believing something that's not in accord with reality. So it seems to me that the aggressor that's trying to find these people to kill that you're hiding is already not living in accord with reality, right? He's already in error. You're not leading him into error. So you could think about it this way with the old classic mental reservation. When you say, no, there's no Jews here, there's none for you to kill, which in your erroneous interaction, your error that you're in, your erroneous interaction with reality, that's what you want to do. So you're not leading them into error, they're already in error, and you're not trying to contribute to that error. So I think we need to be really careful with this, but I think with those two elements, we see that not all deception is with the purpose of leading someone into error, right? And the Catechism has some more, I think, important things to say on this. In section 2485, it says we have to be really careful because the whole purpose of communications of speaking is to communicate truth to others. That's what we're supposed to be using our speech for, right? We're supposed to share, whoa, this is the truth that I've learned that's really good. This is something about reality that I found, and I'm sharing it with you. So it's really dangerous to misuse that, and it's really evil. It's a really bad sin. Then going on, to in section 2486, it talks about how a lie does real violence to another. It does violence to their ability to know. And your ability to know, you base everything on that, what you know. Right, so that's what you base judgments off, your actions off of, is your ability to know. So it's violence. A lie is a violence. And one popular Catholic thinker, Jimmy Akin, he's based his theory of lying and truthfulness off of this section. And I would put a video where he puts that forth really good, but he hasn't really put it down methodically. He's just mentioned it in relation to other things. But he basically says what deceiving someone does is it's doing violence to their knowledge, right? And the Catechism just said that. And so just how we can do violence in wartime, I can fight someone, everybody agrees that I could self-defense, shoot that Nazi, that aggressor that's coming into my house trying to kill people. Well, in the same way I could deceive him. That's doing violence to his knowledge, and if it's too much or for not a good proportional cause, then it could be evil. So I think we really need to think about that deceiving is doing violence to a very intrinsic part of a person, a very deep part of them, so we need to be really careful about that. And then in section, a lot of people say, a lot of moral theologians talk about how the original draft of the Catechism that didn't actually get used talk about lying in relation as a right to know. People have a right to know the truth, and if someone didn't have the right to know the truth, then it's not. If you deceive them, well, that's not lying because they didn't have a right to know that. And the Catechism didn't stay with that, and people make a big deal about that, and I think it is very important. But it does actually talk about a right to know in section 2488, in talking about lying and telling the truth. Very often people don't have a right to know, and the best thing to do. We need to be circumspect in our speech, but silence is often the good thing. Okay, so I think there are situations where we could deceive. So like in a game, I'm not trying to lead someone, like if I'm trying to trick someone in chess, right, because even our actions, it's not just speech, our actions can trick someone. So I'm trying to trick someone in different games. I'm trying to think I'm doing a different play than I'm really doing, right? And that's going to do some small amount or a greater amount of injury to their knowledge. But first, am I doing grave injury? It's just like if I'm playing football, I'm going to get some injury to my body. But is it grave injury? If it is, then I shouldn't be playing football. And the same thing, if it's doing great injury to the other person's knowledge, shouldn't be doing that. And also, is my purpose to lead the person into not a correct state with reality, into error? No, that's not. If I'm tricking someone, they know that I'm tricking them as part of the game, and they know it's not doing damage to their relationship with reality. But even if that's true, so even if deception could be theoretically okay in game, could a game encourage us to lie, teaching us the behaviors of lying? And I think, yeah, it could. So we have to look at that when looking at games. But just like all the other games that we play, where it's teaching us to fight, to box, to live out these situations, because hopefully not, but we might have to live them out in real life. It's better if you've been playing war games if you have to be in an actual war. Well, the same thing. People are going to try to deceive you in real life. So these games where you're trying to figure out who's deceiving, and you see the patterns that people get into, and you get better at picking up on deception, well, that's a good thing. It's practice for real life. So I hope that discussion of lying is helpful for you. I want to now go through some of the secret role games that I want to review originally. So I'm searching for the best secret role game. And to be the best, I think secret role games need to fulfill 3 criteria to be the best that they could be. A good secret role game has to have well-defined goals, so you have something to work with to figure out who's actually doing stuff. Because it could be too vague where you're like, I have no idea who's trying to trick or who's trying to be good, because it's not clear enough where we're trying to go. But that part of it can't get too bogged down either. So that's one of the criteria. It has to have, I think, a lot of players, because secret role games, it seems to me, are usually at their best when they're bringing a lot of people together in a way that other more traditional tabletop games couldn't effectively have that many people. So I love that for secret role games, and the best ones should be able to do that. And then a pitfall that I think they need to avoid is you're not sure what to do, you're not sure what you can do to advance your side. That's a pitfall. It should always be clear what you could do, an action you could take to advance your side. So that's the 3 criteria. Now I'm going to go through secret role games that I've been playing and see which one fulfills these the best, and other just fun and all that good stuff. So the first one is Mafia, or some people call it Werewolf at Midnight. It's just, you can play it with a deck of cards, you can play it with basically anything that gives people the roles. It can have unlimited numbers of player. The time can be really short or really long. I know a lot of people who use this on their youth retreats to kind of break the ice, you need games, I think, on youth retreats, and this is one I've seen used a lot, where, okay, one player is the guy that's killing people, either the Mafia person or the werewolf. You could have one or more, and then there's people who have different abilities to be able to heal people or tell, guess better, and it's very clear what you're trying to do. You're trying to say, and the main thing you're working with is, with what I know of that guy, would he have killed this person, right? So it's based on what social things you know about people. So I like that game, but I don't think it's the best because it's barely even a game. It's very non-structured. The next one would be the one that I used to always call secret role games Secret Hitler games, because the first one I played was Secret Hitler. Secret Hitler is good because you can have up to 10 players. It's 5 to 10 players. It takes about 45 minutes, so that's all good. And I like it. I like that it's always very clear what you're trying to do. I like that you can have a lot of players and the game flows really well. What I don't like is sometimes it's not always clear, if you're the bad guys, what you should be doing. So that's not as clear. And again, it's not there's not as much game to it. It's more just like Mafia, right? It's more freeform, and I like a little bit more rules, a little bit more meat of the game you're actually playing. I like to have more of game goals, like there's a game, not just the social interaction. The next one that I've seen a lot of Catholics really like is this game called Council at Daybreak. The things I like about it is it's good because it has a lot of players. You can have a lot of players, and it only takes 15 minutes. Wow. When I first saw this, I was like, this is going to be the ultimate party game for when a lot of my family gets together, a lot of my friends. This will be ultimate. But I don't actually really like it because there's not enough to go on to guess who the heretic is, right? You're searching for the heretic. But there's not the social cues because he doesn't get a pick what he does. There's no evil thing he can do to people, so you can't say, oh, he would have done it to that person because he doesn't like him, or because he does like him. There's not the social cues to go on, and then there's no game cues to go on. So it's basically just guessing in the dark, and I don't like that. So that game I don't really recommend very well. The idea of it's really good, but I wish someone could do it better. The next one that a lot of my family loves is the game Tortuga, which it's a very beautiful game. I like that it's like disguised as a secret book. It looks like a book, and you open it, and it's actually a game. And what you're doing is there's British, and there's Spanish, and there's Dutch, and you're trying to figure out who's who, and you're fighting with ships, and the British are trying to get the most treasure for the British, the French for the French, and the Dutch are trying to keep them kind of even. And I really like it, that it has a lot of players. It says on it 2 to 9. I'm not sure how you would play 2-player, but has a lot of players. On the lower ends of the players, like with 3, it gets kind of silly. But it only takes like 20 to 40 minutes, and I like that a lot, so it's very quick moving. There's a lot of cool things, a lot of cool events and stuff that can happen. All of that I really like. There's 2 things I think count against it. Is it's a little bit harder to grasp for people who aren't really used to games. It can be harder to grasp. And I don't think that's a big thing because it's kind of medium complexity. But the other thing that I kind of don't like about it is I found playing it a lot that too often there's no good action for you to take. It's just like, I'm not sure what to do. Like you can look at the events that are going to come up, but by the time, if you have a lot of players, it comes back to you a lot of times, that wasn't even helpful. So sometimes I think it can be unclear what you're supposed to do to advance your side, and I don't like that. But overall, pretty good game. The next one I would look at is Clue Conspiracy. Somebody gave this to me, and I was super surprised how good it is. It's like Clue, but it's a conspiracy game where you're going through and you're trying to prevent. Like in Clue, you're trying to figure out who killed Mr. Body. Well, in this, it's his cousin or something, and you're trying to prevent him from being killed. And the bad guys, right, the conspirators, are trying to kill him. I really like it. It very effectively handles up to 10 players. I love that. And it's pretty reasonable time, 45 minutes. I like that there's a lot to work with to figure out who the bad guy is. I love the setup where each room you're going into, you get more information about who the bad guy is. The bad part is, though, for new players, it's hard for them to see how to tell who the bad guy is. Once you've played it a time or two, you pick up on the cues of, okay, who is the bad guy? But the first couple times you play it, for a lot of people, they're not really sure what they're looking for. So I think that's a big minus on Clue Conspiracy. Finally, last but not least, is a Harry Potter secret role game called Unmask the Deatheaters. And this, I think, is a lot of fun. Well, it's Harry Potter. If you think Harry Potter's evil or anything, I did a video on that. I'll put a link in the description. I'm not getting into that now. But it's really fun because I think it has most of any of these of actual gameplay. You're actually fighting against somebody. And yeah, the traitor's trying to make the bad guys win, but there's actually a goal apart from, like a really well-defined goal apart from the conspiracy and stuff, and that's really fun. It's up to 8 players, which I like. Most of these are about up to 8 players. So this one, I don't like that it's limited, the amount of players, because it's only 4 to 8. So 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. And that's very limited for these kinds of games. I don't like that it takes a long time. It usually takes hour and a half, so that's a little bit longer than most of these. But overall, very, very fun game. So having said all that, which of these is the best? What's the best secret role game? Well, my bottom line is I don't think I've played enough secret role games to have found the best. These ones, I enjoy most of the ones I've mentioned. Some of them are not too great, but I would put probably right now the one that fulfills the criteria the best would be Unmask the Deatheaters. So if you're looking for a good party game that for update players that's really fun, Unmask the Deatheaters. That one's good. If you're looking for one that's a little bit quicker and easily incorporates up to 10 players, I think Clue Conspiracy is the best one. So I hope that all was interesting and helpful to you. You have a very good day, and God bless.